So you've had a busy day and you want to wring out the kinks and get a bit of space. I'm going to share a mini practice with you for you to feel better and hopefully have a good rest of the day. So you're just going to need some floor space, nothing else really. You can use the yoga mat if you prefer to lie on a blanket, then you're more than welcome. I'm just going to go like hardcore, you know the score, as in on the floor. That rhymes. Anyway, come to a space on the floor and you're going to lie down with your knees bent. Just take your time to find a nice position for your arms. So maybe they're by your sides, perhaps they're further and wider apart. Maybe having arms overhead feels better for you. Experiment with that. Take a couple of breaths. Then find your feet in a comfortable and supportive position for the rest of your body. So you may need to play around with the distance between the feet and how close they are to your bum. So what we're looking for is to find a really supportive pose. This is actually called an active resting pose, and it's really great for releasing the psoas muscle. So for so many of us that sit a lot in the day, we can find that there's a tightness and a restriction around the psoas, and it's very much linked to a lot of problems with low back pain and things like that. Obviously see a doctor if you're experiencing chronic pain, but there are little simple things that we can do to create some space in that region. So as you breathe, see if you can keep the belly somewhat relaxed, and maybe notice the space that's behind you. You might even reach behind you with a hand and just feel if there's a big gap or a small gap. So sometimes having a bigger gap underneath the low back shows that there's a bit of a shortness there in the psoas, or a tightness. So we'll see if we can create a bit of length, a bit of space. And you can stay in this position as long as you like. It's really good for you. I'm all for things that seem lazy but actually are good for you. When you're ready, you can interlace the fingers behind your head. And this movement's going to be really subtle. So you're going to do a kind of cat and cow movement on your back. So if you're familiar with that, you'll kind of know where we're going. So you're going to start by gently dragging your bum up towards your shoulders. So you're increasing that gap that's underneath your back. So you're arching the back. And as you do that, see if you can press the elbows into the floor. And if it feels comfortable, maybe you can lift your chin just a little bit. Doesn't have to be much movement at all. And then you're going to do the opposite. Lengthen your bum, slide it towards your heels, so you're flattening out the low back. Bend the elbows, and then gently lift the head, so you're using your arm strength to cradle your head, bringing chin towards the chest. And then you're just going to repeat that a couple more times. So lower the head, open up the elbows, slide the bum up towards the back of your shoulders, maybe lift the chin, press the elbows into the floor. And then the opposite, sliding the bum away, bending the elbows, cradling the head. Hopefully this should feel really nice, like a little massage. So we'll just do one more of those on your own. Maybe see if you can find a way to lengthen the breath, so make the breath more spacious. And at the end of that, you can release the fingers, soften the belly, take a couple of breaths. And from here, one by one, pick up your knees, take them to your hands, and you can hug the knees in. Maybe have a little freestyle as you move the knees around. Again, this can be a lovely massage for the back. And experiment with having the knees a bit further away. That can tune into the lower portion of the back. So if you want a little bit of tension release down there, then I would recommend that position. And maybe draw the knees closer towards you. That's going to take the focus more towards the mid-spine, thoracic. See how that feels. And then keep the knees up and just take the arms by the sides. We're just going to have a gentle twist. So slowly drop the knees towards your right. And they may come all the way down to the floor, but they don't have to. If they don't reach the floor, you can always use a blanket or a book and just prop the legs up there so that the legs are able to rest on something. When the legs can relax, then we can focus on the twist in the spine. So notice the back of the left shoulder. See if you can let it melt towards the floor. And on your next inhale, bring the knees back up to center. And as you exhale, drop them over to your left. Just taking a couple of breaths into this twist. And your head can turn in any direction. If you've got quite a stiff neck or any kind of issues turning the head, maybe gazing up towards the ceiling is going to feel most comfortable. So when you're ready, inhale, bring the knees back up to center. Give them a squeeze in. Nice. And then gently release. Take the feet to the floor. And you're going to shift onto your right side. And then push yourself up. And you'll cross your right leg in front of your right leg in front of your left leg. And try flexing the feet here. And if you need to sit up on something, if that feels more comfortable for your hips, then by all means you can do that. If you've got more space in the hips, you can explore taking your feet in opposite directions. So your left foot moves towards the right side of you, the right foot moves towards the left. And then flex the feet strongly so the heels really stick out. And then take a breath here. You might support yourself with your hands if that feels good. Relax your belly. And then if it's accessible, as you exhale, fold forwards. So it's totally fine to stay upright, but you can explore walking the fingers forward if there's room. You don't have to come very far. And then as you breathe, notice sensation in your body. So here we're looking for a stretch around the outer hip, but you might get some space around the low back as well. And those of you folding forward, we're going to slowly come up as you inhale and then swap sides. So just swap which leg is in front. So same thing again, just flexing the feet, finding a good position, maybe staying upright. Take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, maybe you stay where you are and just find your breath. Or perhaps fold forward gently. You can let the head go. Soften the jaw. And then next inhale, gently come on up. Nice. And then bring the feet to the floor. Stretch the legs out in front of you. You can lean back and maybe just wag the feet around. Nice. And then rebend the knees and then push yourself up into a little squat. So in this squat, let's have the feet together and then just widen the distance between your knees. You look like a little frog. And then you might stay in this like ribbit position, or you can walk the fingers forward, bowing down. And then from this squat, I'm going to slowly lift the chest, point the knees in front of you, and then transition into a forward fold. So you might want to take a bit of distance between your feet. Hip width distance is a nice place to go. And press the heels towards the floor as you open up the legs. So it's totally fine to keep the knees bent here. But for now, just try spreading the toes apart and really connecting with the ground through your feet, especially if it's been a long day and your attention's been pulled in all kinds of directions. Nice. So as you press into your feet and make that contact, try and press into your heels really strongly, like you're trying to push the ground away. And you may feel that you start to get some length through the backs of the legs, but try not to force it too much, especially if your hamstrings are tight. And you can support your hamstrings better by really engaging the muscles in your thighs. So draw them up away from the knees. Nice. And then inhale, lift the chest, lift the sternum, push the bum back. And as you exhale, fold forward. It may be a little, it may be a lot, but keep the strength and power through the legs. And it can be nice here to keep a bend in the knees, but just grab hold of your elbows. And I like to sway around here and just feel some space come into the sides of the body, back of the body. It's nice to go gently and just coax the body into opening rather than feeling we need to force ourselves into any shape or look a particular way. And usually if we're patient like that, we can find overall that we get more space, less tension. So from here, if you've got hold of the elbows, just take the hands to the hips and then deepen the bend in the knees. Start to lift the head and the chest, and then push yourself strongly up to standing. So legs are fully engaged. You can release the arms. Nice. And then we'll just take a wide-legged forward fold. So similar to the forward fold that we just took, except for we're going to try and make some little adjustments. So from here, just start to turn the toes in a little bit so they're pigeon-toed. And what we're trying to do here is to encourage this idea of the inner thighs rolling in and back. So it's like you're trying to send them back behind you. And as you do that, we're going to try and also lengthen the low back. So think about your tailbone and you're trying to send it to point towards the floor. So it sounds a bit counterproductive in a way. It's kind of like a push and a pull, and you will find that you'll sense that there's this tension meeting tension as you press the inner thighs back, lengthen the low back. There'll be a little kind of static point where there's no movement, and that's a really nice stable place to be, and hopefully it feels quite open around the back of the hips especially. So if you can maintain that, you can take the hands to the hips, lift the chest, deep inhale, and as you exhale, slowly fold forward halfway. Nice, and if you can, bring the hands to the floor. If not, you can use a book or a block and bring the floor to you. And then as you meet this halfway point, see if you can reconnect with that movement, sending the thighs back behind you. It's a bit more difficult to tuck the tailbone here, but if you can focus on sending the inner thighs back, hopefully you'll feel that there's some opening in the inner thighs, around the groin, but also around the back of the hips. And you're welcome to stay here. If you feel you've got more space to fold, you can do. And you might want to add a little shoulder stretch by interlacing the fingers behind you and then stretching the arms up and over the top of the head. Try and keep the legs engaged, so spread the toes, press into the feet. Try and lift the muscles of your thighs and quads, really strongly working. And then see if you can tip some weight towards your toes. Couple more breaths here. So bring the chin a little bit closer towards your chest. It can be really nice to have a change of perspective in the day to help us press the reset button. The fingers are interlaced behind you. You can gently let them go. We're slowly going to come back up. So as you inhale, lift the chest. And then as you exhale, just wiggle the feet, heel and toe, towards each other. Another standing forward fold. So it's great if you aren't in the mood for inversions. You can always take a forward fold, and they're going to be so great for just waking up the legs and then releasing the upper body, as well as getting a new, fresh perspective. So changing the direction of the flow of blood to the head. A bit squeamish, so I won't dwell on that one. So this time in this forward fold, feet hip width distance apart. If you can reach, you can take the peace fingers and just slide them together and then hook them around your big toes. And from here, inhale, lift the chest, look up. Exhale and fold, bending the elbows to point out to your sides. So as you bend the elbows out to the sides, hopefully it's going to give that space behind your shoulder blades some room to broaden and spread. It's going to give you more space for your breath. If you can, tuck the chin. And remember, you can always bend the knees
So if it's feeling too much, remember the legs don't need to be fully straight. See if you can lift the shoulders up away from your ears. And then unhook the toes, and you're just going to walk back into down dog. So hands and fingers spread, hands to the floor, fingers spread, slowly walk back. And hopefully this down dog should feel quite nice and grounded, really strong through the legs. You can feel that support. Imagine you're trying to hug the hands towards each other. And then gently bring the knees to the floor. Knees can be as wide as you like, big toes touch, child's pose. Lower the forehead to the ground, soften the belly. And then when you feel ready, gently press yourself up, bring the knees together. And then from this kneeling position, I'm going to turn my back on you, not quite like the Mighty Boosh if you watch the Mighty Boosh. And from this position, you're just going to slide over to your left. So you might be able to see that I'm just on my right hip. My left hip is kind of hovering in the air. And from this position, it feels a little bit wonky, but we're going to take a twist. So left hand to your right knee, right fingertips press on the floor behind you. As you inhale, lift the chest. And exhale, turn towards your right side. And see if you can broaden the collarbones here by rolling that right shoulder back. Perhaps you look over your right shoulder and use the tension of that left hand on the knee to help increase the twist. If you're at your maximum, just stay there and breathe. And gently release, coming back to center, and then come and sit back on your heels, so like a kneeling position, and then do the other side. Show you from the back. Just going to flop to your left, so left heel on the floor, right heel is lifted, feet touching, left hand to the floor, just by your side or behind you. Right arm reaches around to grab hold somewhere on that left thigh or knee. As you inhale, lift the chest, and exhale, twist to the left. So this can be a really nice twist because the hips are in a stable position. And I find that it also directs a lot of attention around the waist. And sometimes, especially if you've been sitting a lot, you can get a bit contracted, like squashed up around the organs. So it could be a really nice way to open up some space there. Last breath, rolling the left shoulder back. If your neck feels okay, look over the left shoulder or look over the right shoulder. And then gently release that, untwisting. Swing the legs out in front of you. Take a moment, you might need to wiggle the feet, wiggle the toes. And then finally we'll just do a little immunity boosting wake up. So you can make fists with your hands or little choppers. It's up to you. I'm gonna go fists. Yeah, fists today. And you're just gonna gently punch yourself lovingly on the outer edge of your hip. And we're gonna do a cycle on each leg. So just start tapping at your own intensity without hurting yourself. And we're just going to lightly tap down the outer edge of that right knee all the way down to the right ankle. Then you're going to come up the inside of that right leg, inside of the knee, up to the groin, special, and all the way around, swap sides onto the left leg, so outer hip. Just waking up the legs, boosting the blood flow, all the way up the inside of the legs, up the groin. Nice, so we're going to move up the body. So from here, I'm going to move to the low back. So I'm going to swap for karate chops now. This area around the kidneys. It can be really nice to just help boost circulation, boost immunity. Nice. And we're going to go up a little bit higher. Then we're going to switch the position of the arms to just tap around the tops of the shoulders. And then onto the arms. So same as with the legs. I'm going to stay with the chops now. I'm going to tap all the way down the outer edge of the arm. And then up the inside of the arm. And all the way around the armpit. Into the chest. And then swap sides onto the left arm. And then release that. Find a comfortable position. Maybe it's sitting, kneeling, laying down. And just notice sensation in your body. Might feel a bit tingly, a bit fizzy. Hopefully it feels good, maybe a little bit more energized. You can bring the palms together at your chest. Press the palms together, let the elbows lift, space underneath the armpits, and then gently release. I hope you feel good, hope you feel better, and the rest of the day be excellent. Thanks for practicing with me.